Is the presentation in presentation? I need to make it slideshow. Ah, okay. And content.
I'm not sure this is better because this one we also see the next slide.
Oh, wait. Yeah, I can actually change that. Sorry. Those slides. Display settings.
Haoyi, actually, you can just click on swap presenter view and select show.
Sorry, which one?
Yeah.
Now it's good.
Okay. Now it's good.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, shall we start? Okay. Dear colleagues, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. So welcome to the first webinar of the Global Network webinar series on building strong data ecosystem for the SDGs. My name is Yong Min, and I'm the Chief of SDG Monitoring Section at the United Nations Statistical Division. As you may know that the Global Network of Data Officers and statistician was launched last week on the World Statistical Day and also on occasion of the World Data Forum. So in just 1 week, we now have over 600 members joining this network. So I would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this data community. So the global network will connect statisticians, data experts, and geospatial information experts, and data managers, and result reporting officer and economists in the UN country team around the world to produce and use metadata for the SDGs. Through the network, we hope that the members can share ideas and knowledge and build a collaboration and also strengthen our coordination and get expert support on different topics related to data and statistical for SDGs. So with your support and participation, we hope to build a very strong and sustainable data community together for the SDG. So this webinar series is one of our efforts to achieve these goals. We will offer a webinar about every 2 weeks. So the next one will be in the week of 9th of November. And the topic will be focused on SDG data and metadata platforms. So this is just a little bit forecasting for the next webinars. Today's webinar, we will focus on household surveys. So house survey play a very important role in SDG monitoring, as they provide data and for about 1/3 of the 231 global SDG indicators. So today I have the great pleasure to introduce you our speaker for the webinar, Ms. Haoyi Chen. Haoyi is the coordinator of the Inter-Secretariat Working Group on Household Service. So before she joined the current position in September 2019, she led the program on international migration statistics at the UN Statistical Division. She has also worked on various statistical areas, including gender statistics, population census, civil registration, and vital statistics. She holds a PhD degree in statistics from the University of Florida. Hopefully through today's interactive webinar, you can learn the role of household surveys in supporting the SDG monitoring and how household survey adapt and contribute to policy making during the COVID pandemic. And also, are we moving to a post-COVID new norm for household surveys? So through the webinar, we also want to learn from you. So what area of household survey would you like to learn more on? So without further delay, let us welcome Haoyi to start today's webinar. Over to you, Haoyi.
Thank you so much, Yongyi, for introducing. Can you hear me? Good. Perfect.
I hear you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for Yongyi for inviting me, and it's a great pleasure for our group to be the first one to go in the series webinars. So as Yongyi said, we will be making this webinar as interactive as possible, and so if you have any questions, feel free to text or let us know if you would like to ask questions. And as I'm going through, this is the outline for my presentation today. And I will first give you a brief introduction of our group. We're called Inter-Secretariat Working Group on Household Surveys. So you will see this acronym. And then I'll lead you through some of work we've done or that is ongoing. And then I'll give you a little bit in introduction or review on what we think our future work might be and the future direction. So within the course of presentation, I will try to make it short and it will not be very technical. So I will not be going through sampling strategies and how you can do this, how we are doing that, but rather just really general presentation talking about our work. But if you have any questions on any specific part of my presentation on the work we've done in a specific area that you would like to learn more, please indicate it in the chat box. There's a chat box, right? Or Q&A session, and then I will get our experts. So we are a group, remember, so it's really a collaborative group. I get our experts we can organize another session in collaboration with Yongyi's the global network. So please indicate that if you like to hear more about one or more specific areas. Now let's move on. Yes. So our group is called Inter-Secretariat Working Group on Household Surveys. We were established by the Statistical Commission in 2015 with 3 key objectives. The ultimate one, the first one, is to improve coordination. Coordination of surveys at the country level and also coordinating our efforts at the international level. Our group also is there to advance survey methodologies. And also the last one is enhance communication. Communication not only about our work, but also about the importance of household surveys in monitoring SDGs, and also in producing all social, economic, and even environment indicators. Our group currently has 10 international agencies and 8 member states. So we welcomed our new members from countries, 8 of them this year, following a recommendation from the IEG SDGs. Thank you, Yongyi, and your team. And so right now we have 10 international agencies and then 8 member states on board. Currently, our group is co-chaired by UN Women and the World Bank. Before the 2 agencies, we also had UNICEF co-chairing, and before that was ILO. Now moving again. So how does our group function? We work together on many issues, and one of them is through establishing task forces. So either one or multiple members are interested in leading one task force, and then we start to get other members, and then the experts in the field on board. When we were first established, we started with a group of thematic survey methodology task forces. So these are the four task forces I've listed. One on education spending, which was led by UIS and the World Bank. And then we had another one on food consumption. It was led by FAO and the World Bank. And third one is on the SDG module to be integrated in the multipurpose household surveys on SDG 16, Goal 16 indicators. So there are a group of indicators that survey how to collect, how to ask questions, how to collect data for these indicators are being currently developed and being tested. So this work is led by UNODC and UNDP. And the last one is there's a lot of work done by ILO on measuring paid and unpaid work activities through household surveys. And these are some of the examples that the publications, methodological publication that was published after the task forces complete their work. And I have added links to all of these publications once you receive the PowerPoint. So I believe this will be shared with you, and you'll be able to get to the publication or the website directly by clicking on the link. After the thematic task forces, the STAC Commission suggests that we also start focusing on more cross-cutting survey methodologies that are common and are relevant for all of our members. So here is a few areas. Trying to move my thing. Two big areas I am covering today. One is our group started to work really on coordination. Can we help countries move towards a more coordinated national household survey programs? In some countries, that surveys are not always run in a harmonized way. Sometimes you see one survey going on and then another survey with similar topics are being carried out 6 months later. And then if you look at the metadata, you look at the information that was collected, and they are not consistent. There's different concepts and definitions are used across different surveys, and it's really difficult to put the data together or compare. So our group wanted to first really to move all of us into a more coordinated household survey programs. And the first task force is really to started by sharing the survey calendar of surveys that are led by our group members. As you remember, we have 10 international agencies. I didn't mention earlier that some of them are leading a global household survey program, like UNICEF that's leading the mixed survey program, and the World Bank is leading the living standard measurement surveys. And then we also have agencies like ILO. They are supporting a lot of national labor force surveys, so they really understand the system of labor force surveys. So they know many or most of the situations, what's going on in the labor force survey, what's going to be carried out. So we thought if we actually put all the information together for surveys that have just carried out, and also are under planning, will be carried out, maybe we can help coordinating the survey information better. So this was still going on, and we are working to see whether we can come up with a survey calendar. This is still being discussed, and then we have a number of our members as part of the discussion. And another one is really to come up with recommendations on how countries can move towards a more comprehensive national household survey program. We are going to work. We do understand that every country is very different, and the survey system different, very different, and the national statistical system could be centralized, decentralized. So that's why we are going to work with a number of countries and to really understand the system, and if there's help needed, and our members and the experts in the field will really work with them and see what are the steps we can take to move towards a more harmonized household survey system within the country. This is again is led or joined actually a task force by various members of our group. And the third one is really to a set of recommendations on how to better document your survey data. This work is led by the World Bank, and it will be available pretty soon. Our group also realized that collecting data is only the first step, and more importantly, to add values for household surveys. And since it's so expensive, how can we promote the dissemination of household survey data, especially the microdata, while understanding that we need to really keep the personal information confidential. So we currently have two task forces going on. One is really to come up stock taking on what's going on for some of the countries in terms of disseminating survey microdata, and then come up with some recommendations or steps to move towards disseminating microdata from household surveys. This work is led by FAO, Open Data Watch, and the World Bank. And there is a second one is on really how to anonymizing geospatial enabled household survey microdata. As we know, we all have geospatial data in household surveys nowadays. How can we really anonymize the data so individual information will not be jeopardized or revealed? This work is done. Is now going through external reviews and will be presented to our to the Statutory Commission in March 2021, which is next year. So more information about our task forces, I have the link underneath. You're welcome to take a look. Next one, our group really is working to support SDG monitoring. Let me go back to the theme of this presentation or the webinars. As Yongyi has mentioned, our group did a SDG indicator mapping exercise and going through each indicator and then see what are the sources. And we found that 1/3, 80 SDG indicators can be measured through household surveys, and that covers 13 goals. So how can we use this information? How can we really guide countries to produce data through household surveys for these indicators? So we are building an entry point through our website, really for countries to have easy access, user-friendly access to our household survey relevant SDG indicators, but also methodologies associated with all these indicators. So this work is supported by UNSD. And the second area that under SDG monitoring support is we are working on guidance notes on how to sample the vulnerable population groups. We all know survey is challenging when in speaking about small population groups or marginalized group, or if they're distributed unevenly within the country. And then we are working on a set of guidance notes on how to really specifically sample what are the good examples, what countries have been doing. And this work is led by the Secretariat, but is financially supported by UN Women. And third one that our group is working in collaboration together with IEG SDGs. Thank you, Yongyi. And it's a toolkit on small area estimation. There's extra N here for the SDGs. This is really about data integration. Now we have household survey data. How do we make sure our data, how do we get data that are more disaggregated, either geographically or for smaller population groups? Lastly, and there will be a global toolkit on how to generate more disaggregated gender statistics, gender data. This work is led by UN Women. Now, a little bit about our work on household survey on COVID. COVID has been really, really challenging for many countries, especially household surveys, because many surveys in the world are still using face-to-face interviews. And if I go to the next page, was a survey that was carried out by UNSD, a survey of national statistical offices carried out by UNSD at the World Bank, trying to see what the impact the COVID has on statistical operations. And the survey has been done in 3 rounds, and I'm only showing 2 rounds. The third round of data are still being processed. As you can see that in May, about 70% of the national statistical offices that responded to our survey indicate they stopped the face-to-face interview completely. The percentage has improved over time. In July, it's 30%. So that's fully stopped. And then you have a huge percentage of countries that partially stopped their face-to-face interview. So what does it mean for our countries? The continuity of data are disrupted. Many surveys are supposed to go into the field just right before COVID, and then COVID came. And the other one is COVID has so much more data needs, actually raised a lot more data needs. And how can household survey help? So to respond to these challenges, our group formed the task force on COVID with 3 key objectives. It's on the right-hand side. Really is, first of it, coordinates the COVID-19 impact survey in countries. Right after the pandemic, it's actually a really positive move. And many countries and many of our partners are moving to helping countries to collect data on the impact of COVID on individuals in the households through household surveys and through we call it high frequency surveys, pulse surveys. And there's so many of them. And we start to see challenges and issues in the country when you have 5 surveys running together, and sometimes without even having NSO aware of the operation. So one of the objectives is really to improve coordination of this type of survey in countries. And also, can we put together guidance that our members have issued? All our members have worked so hard. They've, within the course of 1 month or 2, they came up a lot of methodological guidance. And then can we put them together, and so countries have as entry point to have access to all. And lastly is survey certainly has changed. COVID has changed a lot our national statistical system in general, but also on household surveys. Are we going to see a permanent impact, or will COVID actually leave a legacy? Many countries move into some other data sources or more innovative ways of carrying out surveys. Is this going to last? Will this go away? Are we all going back to how it was before COVID, after COVID, if we ever get into after COVID? So our group would like to come together and form a collective vision on what is the implication of COVID for reshaping national household survey programs. If they will be reshaped, what can we do to help countries? So we work actively on this and in the task force. And then this is on the left hand side, this is actually website, how it looks like in our groups, on our group's website. And then you can go into each of them. There are 3 pages you can click. And this is one of them, is the COVID impact surveys. And it shows a map on the website. If you click any country, for example, I clicked Kenya, yes. And you will see what our members are doing, also including NSO, what are they doing in terms of impact, measuring the impact of COVID. And then we have all the information, name of the survey, focal point, the name, and their emails, and if one country would like to start a survey or have interested, that they can actually reach out to the focal point. and find out more about the survey. Now, if you look at this chart again, if after the 3 rounds of survey, and we usually see countries moving gradually back to face-to-face interviews, at least partially, or in some areas, not in the entire country. And we are offering a new tool. It is a technical guidance note on planning and carrying out a household survey under COVID. And we highlight the issues that if country wanted to go back to face-to-face interview, what are the safety issues and they might want to take into consideration at their planning or at carrying out the survey. This is just a screenshot of the annex. We have a checklist for countries to use in the field when they are or when they start planning the work. And this work is not currently under review, and it should be available very soon in 1 or 2 weeks. We also through the survey carried out by UNSD of national statistics carried out by UNSD and World Bank, we see that many countries have moved to quickly adapted when COVID hit. So they changed for surveys, they might change data collection mode from face-to-face to telephone or web surveys, or they use alternative data sources, or they add new questions and reduce the questionnaire content. So they've done a lot of things to adapt to the challenge of COVID. So that's why we are working on a post-COVID new normal vision paper. These are some of the ideas, but basically it's really to see what, for example, what is really needed for household survey. Can we have a lean design? So we only collect what's needed and not anything more than that. And also, can we do really a systematic assessment on the survey infrastructure within countries? Is the computer-assisted web interview or computer and Haoyi and CADI, computer-assisted telephone interview survey infrastructure available? And can we integrate work more on integrate survey data with other data sources? If we are to move to or percentage or slowly into telephone interview or through web interview, are the data, we need to assess the bias. Are the data comparable? And so this, we call it in building empirical evidence in countries that don't have much experience on this, right? And in this topic was actually presented or discussed in one session under the World Data Forum organized by our group entitled COVID is Household Survey at the Crossroad. I have attached a link to the YouTube video. You're welcome to watch. And the most important message that came from that webinar or that seminar session is really, yes, we all rushing to something really nice, and we should be moving into innovations, but let's also slow down a little bit and assess what has happened, what have we learned, to use that information in the past few months to inform our decisions for the future. Now, always towards the end, our group is working on communication and advocacy, communicating about our work and also communicating about the importance of household surveys. And it's still very, yes, with big data, but we are still very important. So we are revamping the website really to make it a more training portal for SDG, household survey related SDG indicator monitoring. And we are organizing webinars in collaboration with the regional commissions, focusing on different topics. So it will be a serious webinar. So feel free to suggest topics if you're interested in certain aspects. And we are working on quarterly annual report to inform our constituency and stakeholders on what we're doing. Future work, we will still move along on 3 main pillars: coordination, methodology, and also communication and advocacy. But we are going to set our priorities that are guided by National Statistics Office by countries. We would like to focus on innovation, and we would like to broaden outreach and collaboration with other data sources, with other partners, including you. With that, this is my email. If you have any questions, please type in the chat or reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Haoyi, for this comprehensive presentation on the Inter-Secretariat Working Group on Household Survey. And so we have the function that if you have question, you can raise your hand, and our colleague will let us know. And or you can type your question in the chat box. And so any question related to the Inter-Secretariat Working Group on Household Survey or related to household survey in general, you can let Haoyi know, and so we can moderate this question for you. So there's a question from the chat from Saba. She asked, how did you disseminate the survey, or hard copy or online? So that's the first question. So if you have any other question, please let us know.
Yuyi, should I respond or wait to collect more questions?
Yeah. Okay. So maybe you can respond, and then I think Yuxi or Paul can help me to identify who raised hand, because I cannot see from my screen. Maybe you can respond this one, then we go. Yuxi will go to the next one who raised hand. I think there's also someone. Ramesh raised his hand. So maybe you answer this one first.
Sure. So Sabah, can you clarify what survey you were referring to? Disseminate the survey, hard copy or online? Maybe if you, yes, go ahead.
I thought you were collecting data through a survey.
What data?
Household survey.
So no, our group, so just clarify, our group doesn't collect data. No, our group, Inter-Secretariat Working Group on Household Surveys, we do not collect data. But our agency, our members work with countries to collect data from household surveys.
Okay, so how did they do it? Did they do it on online or an hard copy?
Oh, the results of the surveys?
Well, the collection before you get to the results, because face-to-face is out during COVID.
Oh, yeah. So it really depends on the countries. So it's some surveys are supported or operated by our members, but a lot of surveys were actually national surveys. So it was National Statistics Office that organized and carried out the survey. So I believe our colleague from ILO has gave a figure, but a majority, really a larger proportion of household survey are still carried out through face-to-face interview in the world for labor force surveys. But it really depends. I see that many of our members are in this webinar. Feel free to jump in to respond. I know Mix has been doing CAPI surveys.
Colleagues, maybe this is Ramesh Krishnamurthy from the World Health Organization in Geneva. Maybe partly I could answer the question the previous person was asking, but my question is more to do with coordination. As you know, conducting national surveys is quite an expensive, let alone complex coordination process. And multi-agency collecting multiple data related to a single topic can actually cause confusion on the ground at the household level when they receive multiple door knocks for filling out the data. And this not only, it's not necessarily a complicated thing, but it actually is confusing for policymakers as to which data is being utilized for policy decisions, because at the end of the day, it has to affect in the national policy level for these survey data that's going to be utilizable. So is it possible that the coordination group at the secretariat level can have an interagency agreement for coordinating insofar as an agreement, I'm talking about the agency heads level, for COVID and any emerging and re-emerging health conditions, for example, that interagency coordination group on statistical data collection through surveys needs to know and clear it before it goes out to countries, because otherwise the country WHO representative in case of WHO, or the UNEP representative or UNFPA representative, will have to kind of make an argument with the health minister about what they're doing, why they're doing. So I think it becomes a complicated on the ground operation if interagencies are not coordinated. So question more is that, is there any policy guidance that can come out that can be sent to, including WHO and including other agencies, as a suggested methodology for approach? So that's my question. In answer to the question to the madam who asked before, from the experience from our work in WHO on these matters, I think Madam Chan has already answered you that it depends, but most of the time the data collection for COVID surveys, depending upon the question that is in discussion, in-person surveys are to be conducted and have to be observed. For example, emergency operations, emergency room, what it contains, what is needed, whether it's an oxygen shortage, whether there's beds vacancies. Some of them are not fillable surveys. They have to be cross-verified because of various reasons. So in some countries, surveyors go on the ground and collect the data, which poses, of course, certain risks. But in other cases, it's collected through indirect means such as online health management information systems to be an extract, or modified health management information system that collects some real-time data on the topic of COVID, or the routine health surveillance that is going on COVID for emergency response will also provide some data. So I think the data collection instrument may be common, but the mode of collection is quite dependent and often is on the ground with the surveyors in front of the either the household or at the health facilities. Over. Thanks.
Thank you for Ramesh for the question and for Haoyi to answer. How you want to address Ramesh's question?
Sure. Yes. No, Ramesh, you're absolutely correct. We do have. That's why our group was why our group was created or established. One of the reasons is to really coordinate among ourselves and to work better with countries. And we're still working on it. But we have made small baby steps really towards, because I mean every member have their own constituency behind, and then they have their own focus countries, and they have their own priorities. So it is challenging, but we have really made steps towards better coordination. And it's really hard to have an enforcing mechanism, but we are working together. And sometimes it's not as easy as just to put them together. You know, one survey has done collected labor force survey, labor force information. So the next survey shouldn't really do that. And so because of the way question was asked, and it was all different. So that's why two of our members, the ILO and World Bank, are working together to test some of the question to see whether a reduced or some common set of questions for labor force that are traditionally classic for labor force surveys can be incorporated into the poverty survey, living condition survey that's carried out by the World Bank. So we can actually work together, reduce some redundancy in data collection.
Yeah, I think maybe one just point to add here is that, UN is increasingly under focus for maximization of resources is the drive that most countries are wanting us to do. So the surveys are quite expensive. I think I don't need to say this in this meeting. So maybe cost-efficient methodologies need to be thought through for interagency agreement, because I think as a UN, as a whole, as a one system, our agency leaders, I'm sure, will agree to some extent for coordinating the process. Because on the ground, renting multiple vehicles to go, or national surveys that are done through lots of costing, I think can be better managed. So I'm just thinking loud, but I'm sure that in your small groups you have discussed at length. But somehow we have to come up with a salient point as a one-pager for agency leads to respond, to be sent, for them to send their respective departments, statistical departments or data departments, to receive that as a communique, because I think it's quite strategic for us now in the resource limited environment we're operating. Your secretariat can have a powerful voice in terms of transmitting a single pager guidance, so to speak, to the agency leads through the SG's office. I think that's something we need. In our own organization, WHO, we just had one internal meeting, just to give it an idea. We are also coordinating among ourselves, because multiple departments are asking specific age-related or gender-related questions. So how do we coordinate among ourselves? So it will all be, I think, very challenging, of course, but something coming from UN at the secretariat level to the specialized agencies and also UN programs, I think this will be very useful. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. Absolutely agree with you. And we believe that working with our members, and WHO is part of our members, will be able to really move forward on this. Definitely agree with you on the resources and the cost. And yes, absolutely.
Haoyi,
yes.
You want to read the next question? There's a specific questions on. Do you include questions on how finances are on the spend per individual in the household in the service, and also question on unpaid care work? I think this is talk about a specific survey. Maybe you want to quickly address this.
Sure. Christine, I wonder if this is a question related to the COVID impact surveys, or this is a general question. So general question, what this, how finance are earned, this is topic in the income expenditure survey, and unpaid care work has been collected by country through time use survey or through special module under labor force survey. Under COVID, yes, the impact of COVID on income has been really come up quite a bit in the COVID impact surveys. And unpaid work, for some of the surveys that's supported by UN Women, absolutely, it's the priority. And I've seen some national surveys have included questions on unpaid work, just to see how things have changed dynamics in spending, working on the chores within the household. Like my workload in the house has tripled since COVID compared to my husband. So yeah, this was for some countries has been asked. But definitely the impact on the income has been quite prevalent in COVID impact surveys. Ongoing household survey. Should I respond to the next one, or?
Yeah, the next question is, I think, from Enrico, and he said, do you have information on how countries react to the pandemics in terms of ongoing household service? In practical, did they simply postpone them or move to web-based or telephone service? Do you have actual information on this?
Yes, I can send you a link. I didn't cover this was the work data. The information was collected 3 rounds by UNSD and the World Bank through a survey with national statistical offices. Yes, we have exact statistics on that. Countries responded to pandemics in terms of household surveys is they adapt and change a different mode. Reduce the question if they change from face-to-face to telephone interview, they have to reduce the amount of questions they ask significantly, including new questions on the impact of COVID. They also try to see whether other data sources within the country can be used. There's certain postponement, but we can give you the exact statistics on this. Yeah, we have information on this.
And the next question is from Ivan Nilda, and she asked, could you please share the link of the countries, the ISWGHS dashboard? So can you please clarify this? What dashboard you refer? How you can definitely share the link of this Inter-Secretariat Working Group on Household Survey, and on the website there's a lot of rich information, and maybe how you want to elaborate on this.
Yes, so I mean I've presented a lot of information about our task forces, about outcome of task forces. They are all available online. We are going to put more information online, but it's everything that I've presented here are there. We also have the list of countries that if you're looking for the list of countries within our group. Next one, Yongyi, do you mind reading out this? Our Attila has covered some information about mixed survey. Attila was the chair of our group in the previous, about 6 months ago, and he has been leading the group. He's in charge of the mixed survey at UNICEF.
I can read it, but I would like to also invite Attila. Maybe can elaborate more, and since you probably have more information. So Attila said the countries are gradually resuming face-to-face household surveys, developing safety precautions for this purpose. How countries are resuming household survey depends on the extent that the country is affected by COVID and the restrictions. So as a mixed program, we have been conducting household survey using CADI and have also conducted a few face-to-face survey as well. More are going to the field very soon. So Attila, you want to elaborate a little bit more on this since you're part of the Intersecretariat Working Group on Household Survey.
Sure, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I put some information there in the chat box, but just to say that, again, as I was saying there, it very much depends on the restrictions and the effect of the pandemic in countries. But just as the educational systems, admin systems, and others are being relaxed, and there's more face-to-face interaction in countries for everything that you can think of. The same applies to household surveys, and as the UNSD, World Bank survey of NSOs has shown, many countries were actually, as of August, I think the last time it was conducted, many countries were planning to go back to the field and start face-to-face activities within 6 months of that survey, which is the end of this year, that deadline. So I would think that just as the mixed program, and we know that we have been learning from other survey programs too, that many countries are actually have resumed their activities for training, for listing, for pre-testing, many face-to-face activities at the country level. And they're going to be starting to collect face-to-face data through household surveys. And in the process, I think how you showed a checklist, which is being developed by the group, and I think it's in draft mode right now, but it will be released very soon. That I'm sure will be very useful. But also to say that household survey programs have also developed guidelines and recommendations for safety precautions in case of face-to-face activities during household surveys. So those would be very useful to look at as well.
Thank you very much, Attila, for this explanation and further information. And I think it's the chat. The next one is from Saba, and she said all the data collected prior to COVID is useless now, given the detrimental effect to the economy and the massive job losses by people who have become even more poor due to the lockdown. So you want to provide some comment on this, Haoyi? We can't hear you, Haoyi.
No,
You are.
I completely agree with Saba on the detrimental effect. Although I have my reservation on the data collected prior to COVID is useless. At least it's a benchmark, right? And without data prior to COVID, we wouldn't know how bad the impact COVID is. We need to compare the data. So that's one of the usefulness of the data collected prior to COVID. This is my response. And then I think my colleague also, Enrico, also responded.
Is there anyone from the chat or is there hand? From the participant?
There's no any heads up at the moment.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no more questions, if you but you still have the opportunity to ask Haoyi and these questions. We're also going to post this webinar on the website and also the presentation. And if you don't have time to attend the live session in the future, you can still watch it later on. And for this, so we also want to basically tailor this webinar series to the member needs. So if you have any suggestions and or proposal for future sessions, please let us know. So our next webinar will be in 2 weeks, as I mentioned, in the week of the 9th November. And it will focus on SDG data and metadata platforms, which aims at making SDG data more available in country. So the webinar, the objective of the webinar is to provide more information to countries that have not yet set up a SDG platform, on which options are available there. And we invite a lot of countries gave their examples. So we invite you to join the webinars. So we're also developing the future webinars. So you have any suggestions and any areas you want to learn from, and we will invite experts from countries and international and regional agencies and to share their information and knowledge on different topics. And so yeah, my colleague Alexandra Loksky and Yuxi Zhang and myself also support this network. So if I have any suggestion to improve this network, the global network, and to build this network, please also contact 3 of us. So thank you very much for this, Haoyi, for this very informative seminar. So we hopefully to bring you back in the future to talk about some specific topic on household survey based on the member needs and requests.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yongyi. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Haoyi. Yeah, and thank you everyone to attend our webinar today, and we will post our recording and the presentation to the global network as Alexandra just sent out the link in the chat. And also we just created a short evaluation form to collect your feedback, which only take about like 3 minutes to finish. So we would really appreciate if you could also finish this quick survey, and it will really helpful for our future event planning. Thank you, and I can just put the link in the chat box, and also we will put the link in our global network. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you all. If you would like to hear more, let us know. I will invite our members to present.
Yes, thank you everyone. If you have 3 minutes, and which can also help to shape our future webinar sessions, please fill out the evaluation form and just take us 3 minutes.
Thanks.
So thank you very much, everyone, and then particular thanks to Haoyi.
Thank you.
Great seminar. So bye, everyone. Thank you.